I want to take a moment before we start this video to give an important disclaimer. While we were at the 2023 SHOT Show, we very much wanted to take the opportunity to speak with the former ATF Chief of Firearms and Ammunition Division because, of course, like you, we have lots of questions. Now, there's two reasons for this disclaimer. Number one, we went there to try to answer questions so you and we are all educated was the point of this. So I want to start by saying don't hate on us because we went and talked to the ATF. We went and talked to the ATF specifically so you would have answers. With that being said, there were a lot of questions that we had that he simply could not answer. So as you see this interview, obviously we had questions on the pistol brace and we had many other questions. But because of legal reasons, he could not answer those questions. And as a matter of fact, Franklin Armory, who hosted them, even said they had to sign a disclaimer with the federal government to even have him there at all. So as we ask questions, just know we ask the questions. You just won't necessarily see him say, I can't answer that question. Second is this man that we're interviewing, don't hate on him as well because number one, he's a former ATF Chief of Firearms and Ammunition Division and he is under the realm of whoever's steering the ship, which changed hands many times in his 25-year career. So with that being said, this is a great interview and I highly encourage you to kick back and just enjoy it because it is a lot of very good information.
So we're here right now. Franklin Armory was so gracious. They brought in Earl Griffith, formerly with the ATF, and we had the privilege and opportunity today to speak to him and answer some questions. And so first of all, Mr. Griffith, thank you so much we really appreciate your time and having the opportunity to speak with you.
You're quite welcome.
Can you, before we go any further, just give folks a little bit of your experience and help them understand what you did with the ATF and for how long?
Sure. So I was with ATF for about 21 years. I had different positions, but I retired as the chief of the Firearms Ammunition Technology Division. That division actually oversaw a lot of the industry evaluation, some of the criminal classifications as well, and as well as a lot of the firearms training for ATF.
Well, so we've got a lot of questions for you,
Yes.
but I think the primary focus of why we wanted to talk to you is also maybe to clear up any misconceptions, misunderstandings, use this really as an opportunity also to educate people about the ATF and kind of your perspective there. So why don't we just start with that? If there was one thing you wanted the Second Amendment community to know or understand about the ATF today, their role, what would that be? I know it's kind of a big question. But.
Sure, no, and I think I could sum that up pretty easily, that the misconception is ATF's not there to take away your firearms, even though they've been accused of that. But as regulators of ATF, regulators of the industry, ATF should, in most cases, they try to guide the industry through the regulations as regulators. But again, they have individuals there that don't understand some things, just like industry doesn't. I think a big part of what ATF and other agencies should do is communicate better with the industry. And hopefully my role as a retired individual from ATF is to help industry understand some of those smoke and mirrors that they think they're there. And hopefully with my experience, I can do that.
Well, and that's the thing. I think let's talk about that. Like
Sure.
Because I do think from the perspective of the firearm community, it's very easy to view ATF. I think right now the perception is that they are a bad guy.
Sure.
So what are some of those pieces of misinformation out there that you wish people really understood?
Yeah, I think it's like any big government that the process is slow because there's so much red tape and there's so much politics and political influence. And that changes, of course, with the administrations, Congress, Senate, and so forth. And sometimes there's restrictions on information flow and where uh, the agency should be going as far as we can be more restrictive, less restrictive, friendly to the industry, more friendly, I should say, or more restrictive in ways. And so any agency that's a regulator, they do have that option. You know, they can say, we're going to slow walk perhaps, or we're going to fast track. In some cases, we're going to go more after this or after that on the criminal side and so forth. But
So what you're saying is your job and your job description changes on the whim of whomever's at the wheel at that particular time.
somewhat. But as regulators, we need to stay, you know, very neutral in the middle. But like
As much as possible.
right. But there are some wavering with different personalities and political influence.
So what did you love best about your job?
Believe it or not, it was dealing with industry, coming out and saying, industry, here's the real answer. You know, you don't have to actually ask because it's your privilege to do so, to manufacture firearms and stuff. If you have questions, you can do so. But coming out and talking to the industry and say, no, we want you to be successful, at least from my perspective. And, you know, I was kind of the classification division that worked directly with industry to say, it is a firearm, it's not a firearm. But
so your favorite part was the education.
absolutely, communication flow. Yeah, education.
Key.
And with that, I would say that that's probably one of the weakest sides of ATF and other regulators, to educate the people that industry, in this case, that needs to know about certain things.
Yes.
And the information flow is restricted for different reasons.
Yeah.
For instance, proprietary information, you know, trade secrets, all those kind of restrict at least ATF from releasing some of that information. But there's a lot of other information that should be released and a better communication with industry.
Well, and that was something I was going to ask you because, you know, communication, getting that message out, sometimes things can get very warbled in translation.
Yes.
So, like, if you were going to say one thing that you feel like you wish, as you look at the ATF today, you see an opportunity for where they could really be doing a better job communicating. What's a message that you think is not getting out to people?
Message, I would say that on simple things, for instance, on where's the boundaries for a firearm? You know, where is that boundary where it becomes a firearm from non-firearm to firearm? Industry used 80% receiver for a long time. That was an industry term, but for ATF, it was whether it is a firearm or not by federal law. So, you know, I think simple guidance like that. For instance, there's a form of 4590 that's for importation. It's a public form that public can see it. I wish that ATF could get the message out, even though it's on their website for people to look at, to say this is how to read it and understand it and use it. I think we should have more seminars like that, or they should.
It's actually all there in that form. You can actually go to the
ATF website.
ATF has a website you can go to. It is an awesome website. You can download all of the forms and documents that you sign and check and everything like that. So theoretically, when you submit this, you know, your answers should still be the same as the one you're submitting versus the blank form. You don't need a copy. You've got the original. You can look at everything there, turn a copy into you guys, and keep everything there, including all the directions. Fine print, the last few pages, read through it. But it's all there.
Yeah, so it's like any form that you fill out. Yeah, it seems simple, but when you read directions, it's confusing.
Yeah.
And so maybe more of a educational outreach from ATF or any regulator to say, hey, here's how you should do it, and this is why. And if you have questions, go to here. Some of that information is available, but I think all of government could do a better job at that.
So being really shifting that perception of ATF more of a partner or a resource with the Second Amendment community instead of this separation and being, I think, as you said, anytime you have information, education, put yourself out there, make yourself accessible, helps break down some of those
I think
unnecessary barriers.
Make yourself accessible, I think, is the key. But government does struggle, and I know ATF did when I was there. They struggled with having enough resources, people, and new programs. Upgrading their computer system has been a challenge for them over the years. You would think the government would have the best computer system in the world. Actually, they're like a decade behind, if not more. So yeah, I think that improvement of bringing people in and the corporate knowledge that ATF is losing. I know I was there 21 years.
Institutional knowledge is a huge piece.
It is. And so we have a lot of new folks coming in and they don't have that. And how do you get that? By being around and working it. And just like industry, I'm here now, and a lot of people know me from my previous job. And so I'm here to help clarify some of that, and so that they don't have to go and look for that answer.
So I'm kind of curious, as you've been here today and yesterday, and people are coming up and talking to you, what are the big things that they're wanting, that they're asking you about, or the concerns they're raising?
Well, a lot of them are saying, we're glad that, now you're on our side, so to speak. But not that I'm choosing sides, but now I'm a civilian, and I've always believed in the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner. I own many guns. I won't tell you how many, but many.
Smart.
I grew up, hunting and fishing and outdoors, so forth, and I certainly believe it's our right to own guns, and I certainly will promote that through my knowledge from the past, what I've learned over the years.
Now, Maggie, Maggie is at the gun counter at Gunners, but when your customers come in to Gunners and the things that they bring up to you, what are some of those things you hear that you think they would want you to ask?
Okay, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, this is a real human being coexisting on the planet with the rest of us human beings. So let's play nice, and I'll try to get along here. So now that Laurel's given you all the cakewalk questions, I'm gonna ask you the really hard stuff.
It's gonna get tough
here.
now. Okay.
How does it feel to be retired, and what in the heck are you looking forward to with retirement?
It feels fantastic. It was hard to let go, but it's like with anything, you get used to certain things. I was in a position that I felt very important, and a lot of people depended on me, and I'm a person of integrity, and it was a great job, and I'm thankful to have had that job. But back to your original question, it feels great to be retired, relieved somewhat that burden's now on my shoulder, and now that sometimes I was restricted on how I could answer things and to bring my own personal feelings into it. But now I can. And I'm glad to have that. And with my regulatory knowledge, along with my beliefs, I think I can really guide people on what to do and not to do.
All right. Earl, I would like to test that knowledge.
Okay.
What day of the week is it?
It is Wednesday.
You are not professionally retired, sir. The professional always answer with Sunday.
Well,
good luck with that.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I did think about it, but it's funny. Sometimes now when I'm home after being retired, I'll ask my wife. I said, "What day is it?" And I'll have to go look at what day it is.
Really, again, appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and speak to our viewers today. Last message before we go. If you had one message for the Second Amendment community based on your background and experience, what would that be?
I guess the advice I would give any gun owner is stand up for those rights. And if you're not sure, ask the questions. And hopefully there's someone out there who can give you the right answer and the right guidance. And if we have to, we will challenge the regulators to clarify information that they put out that we think is not right.
Well, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking the time to meet with everyone here at SHOT Show. really thank Franklin Armory for bringing you in and giving us the opportunity to speak to you. So hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and it was a pleasure getting to chat with you.
Yeah, I hope the rest of your interviews are this much of a cakewalk. So
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.